You want to talk about quarterback sacks? Peter King does not want to talk about quarterback sacks.
I don't necessarily want to hear about all the pressures they're getting. I want to hear how often they're getting home. And I want to hear in these 3 games that the 49ers have lost, in which the offense has been mediocre. Okay, even though they've had some injuries, the offense has been mediocre. I want to know, let's just talk about the points you've given up on defense. And these points that you've given up, I think it's 72 or whatever it is in the 3 games. Sometimes the defense is going to have to win a game.
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing, I think, to me right now. I get it. Nick Bosa is the highest paid player on defense in the history of football. So our attention is going to be there. Same thing that when the offense doesn't work, we go straight to the quarterback. Oh, it must be a Brock Purdy problem. We got some stuff to talk about there as well. So I understand that. However, no one's innocent. Maybe Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw are innocent. They're playing good football. I don't really know who else right now on the defense can say they're playing great football. But while we're focused on Nick, how would you answer that question? Because for every person that's like, dude, I don't care who the coordinator is, the highest paid defensive player of all time, you're the DPOY, go get a freaking sack. I don't want to hear it. There'll be another person who's got like a laptop and hangs out with Farhan at a Starbucks and goes, actually, if you want to go deep into the analytics, Nick Bosa is the greatest player in the game right now. And John Lynch said it earlier today. He insinuated that if you don't think that Nick's playing good football, you don't know football and you're not watching the game. I'm sure that's over-dramatizing it a little bit. I think Nick is doing well. I think Nick gets a lot of attention. You also have to get home. Let's talk about it. What do you think, Larry? How well is Nick actually playing?
Okay, first of all, he signed just minutes before week 1.
Yep.
And I thought, just looking at him, he looked really yoked up and stiff. And I just didn't think I saw the same fluidity from him in the first couple of weeks of the year. So he just looked a little like he's been doing a lot of lifting. I mean, you see him, the guy is, he's just tight. He's just big and strong. And he looked more like a weightlifter than a football player. So I think there's something to be said for overlifting and getting a little too stiff.
Interesting.
So there's one, okay? I still think he's really an underrated player against the run. But you also got to remember this, that when you have Hargrave and Bosa and other, the offensive coordinators going through their game plan, I think the game plan for the Niners, is get the ball out quick. So I think there was going to be less sacks to be had, just period, because teams, look at Hargrave and Bosa and Armstead and say, hey, let's get the ball out quick. Let's get the ball out quick. And then the coverage, I think, has been kind of soft. So when you aren't quite getting there, the game plan's to get the ball out quick, the coverage is kind of soft, and you've got options. I don't think the coverage has been tied to their rush. They're almost getting home, but then the quarterback's got options of who he wants to go to. So I just think that the whole thing has not been coordinated well. If you're gonna get to the quarterback, you've got to make sure that those DBs are hugged up. If you're going to be jailbreak at the quarterback, and then all of a sudden, you're going to play a kind of a soft zone, and the quarterback just sees you coming in and is like, boop, I'll just let off, throw that one short. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And then I don't know about every game, but like in the Cleveland game, they consistently had a second guy on his side. He did get 1 sack in that game, but they consistently had a guy, not just the tackle. It was like, okay, here's another, we're going to put the tight end over here. We're going to put the back over here. We're going to make you kind of beat a double team consistently. And it wasn't always a double team. Sometimes it was just like a guy in the area that if you beat the first guy, here comes the second guy. It wasn't like a designed double team. So, I think there's, and then also the not having that guy opposite him, if you had a speed rusher, like to me, the Niner defensive ends, until they got Randy Gregory, were just pathetically slow. On the other side. So not once, if you're going to have an ideal guy opposite Nick Bosa, you'd love it to be a speed rusher that sometimes beats his man and forces the quarterback right into Nick's lap Hasn't enjoyed that at all this year.
Is Chase that?
I think Chase definitely is more of that than they've seen all year. I think he also has the ability to set the edge. But yeah, I think he's going to get pressure and beat his man from time to time. And the quarterback's going to take 2 steps towards Bosa, and Bosa's going to pile up more sacks. I do believe Bosa will get it going. I don't see a major regression. I'll say that. It's not like people say, "Oh my God, he took the bag, he got the bag, and then he just disappeared." I don't see that at all. I see a guy who's playing hard, who still makes plays against the run, but I see a other defensive end spot that it's easy to flush out the other way and get out the side door because they've got one defensive end. Now we'll find out what they look like, in Jacksonville with 2.
A friend asked earlier today, "Are you panicked?" And I said, no. And that's for 2 reasons. A, I don't panic about professional sports.
So nothing could get you panicked.
We're gonna have dinner tonight. It's okay. But I'm also not panicked with regard to actual 49er football and the standings. But I am concerned. I am concerned because as we sit here and talk about the lack of complementary football, which is what keeps ringing in my ear when I'm listening to you talk, and I agree, as said, right hand and left hand aren't working together right now. That goes for one side of the line or the other. That goes for the line and backwards to the coverage schemes that are out there right now. I'm wondering, though, if they have the personnel to do it. And a simplistic way of looking at the defense, I think fans will go, "What are you talking?" My God, this feels like they've got a superstar at every position. How could they not have the personnel? But if the opposing offensive coordinator is essentially saying, like you just said, pick, we're just going to, here we go, 3-step drop, boop, gone, Puka Nakua, Puka. I'd say that name over and over because to me that's what he represents, okay? Just boom, go 4 yards, turn around, bang, we're going to hit you the ball, it's going to be 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 3. And we're just, boom, now it's 1st down. Let's do it again. 4 yards, all the way down the field. Rams did it. And it should have been a red flag that day. But the ball bounced off of Kyron Williams' hands. Fred Warner got a big blitz sack in the second half, and everyone went, yay, everything's fine. And maybe it wasn't. So if you need people to be better at press coverage, I have questions as to whether or not the 49ers do. I don't know that they do. And so that's not panic, but it's a fair level of concern right now. That's what needs to be reworked in this bye week. And we make it sound like just because they're on bye, well, they've got time to get in the lab and fix everything. Well, not really. You got a handful of practices, and I'm sure they're working round the clock, but you don't win football games on film or with a pen and paper. So that's what needs to be answered when they get back. Do they have the personnel to actually make the defensive adjustments that they need to make?
And there's no magic elixir, but I mean, the goal is to win games, not limit explosives. I almost feel like when I'm watching the 49ers, and you could look it up, I think they're near the top of the league in limiting explosive plays against them. Well, that's great, but I want to see a little bit more challenging of receivers at the line of scrimmage. Because the bottom line is we haven't seen teams light them up down the field a lot this year. But we are seeing the last 2 games, the quarterbacks complete a ridiculous percentage of the throws.
Yep.
I mean, I think Burrow and Cousins completed roughly 80% of the throws that they made. Well, 80%?
Yeah, Burrow was 28 of 32. And this is a little known stat that most people didn't see in the box score that I keep talking about. Kirk Cousins was 111 for 112 on 3rd down in that game. I know that sounds crazy, but it's actually true. He completed 111 3rd down passes, got a 1st down on every single one of them. And people don't know that, but it's true, Larry.
Burrow completed 88%. 28 of 32. Cousins completed 78%. The two combined for 63 of 77 the last 2 games.
It's absurd.
That's an 82% completion percentage. I mean, come on. You can't get off the field if it's that pitch and catch.
Thank you. And therefore, I don't want to hear about the quarterback. I don't want to hear about the quarterback. You know, we scored 17 a game. I don't want to hear about the quarterback. They can't even force an incompletion for 2 weeks now. It is the problem with the San Francisco 49ers.